Everyone, and welcome to the last session of the day at the Digital Publishing Summit. For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Marie-Laurence and I'm a member of the organizing team at EDRLab. So you all know it, authenticity and combating counterfeit publication are critical concerns in today's international book markets. So in this session, we are honored to have Sebastian Posth with us, co-director of the ISCC Foundation, who is going to be our speaker today. I would like to start by thanking him for agreeing to be part of this summit. Sebastian is a recognized entrepreneur and consultant in the cultural and creative industries, and he's specialized in digital innovation and Web3 technologies. He will shed light on the challenges of unauthorized republication and fraudulent practices on online platforms. Before we begin, I would like to express once again our gratitude to our sponsor, Liccium Foundation, Glassbox, Audio Boost, and The Mark, who are supporting us for this summit. During this session, you will be able to actively engage with the speaker by using the Q&A tool, which is at the bottom of your screen. So toward the end of the session, after his presentation, Sebastian will address your question if you have any. Just a quick reminder, we are recording this session, so you will be able to catch up on anything you might have missed later on. And EDRLab members will also gain access to written synthesis of each session during the summit. So thank you once again for being here. And now I'm giving the floor to Sebastian. Enjoy the session.
So let me share my screen. I assume you can see my screen. Okay. So welcome everyone, good afternoon, good morning, not sure from where you have dialed in. Thanks for joining this session about authenticity and counterfeit. You already have introduced me kindly, thanks for that. So what I might want to mention is that my background is actually in digital book publishing. So I spent over 15 years in ebook distribution and sales data analytics. And so it's nice to be back after 2 or 3 years of absence from actively working in the industry in this context here. So I'm happy to speak about the topic. Maybe I would like to add one role, which is that I lead the ISO working group, which is dedicated to the development of the International Standard Content Code, which I will be discussing in the following 20 minutes. Additionally, I'm actively involved in building an application called Liccium, which is a software platform designed to empower creators by enabling them to make verifiable content declarations. Before we dive into the presentation, I want to emphasize that this session focuses solely on the technical aspects of the topic at hand. So the content and insights shared in this presentation are based on inputs from the members of the W3C task force, as well as reports gathered from publishers and publishers' organizations in various local markets, such as the US, Germany, or Italy. But it's important to note that it is not my intention to pass judgment on specific cases. And as I'm not a lawyer, obviously, this presentation does not offer any legal advice. Its purpose is to provide a technical understanding and potential solutions to address the challenges faced by the publishing industry. Yeah, the purpose of this presentation is to provide you with an update on the ongoing efforts of the anti-counterfeit task force within the publishing community group at the W3C. I would like to clarify that I'm speaking to you today solely as a participant of this working group and not in any official capacity. The intention behind this presentation is to shed light on the critical issue of counterfeit content in the publishing industry and explore potential strategies to tackle this problem. In particular, I will be discussing one approach that leverages the use of ISCC codes and verifiable credentials. So in several publishing markets, there's a growing concern regarding the presence of potentially illegitimate and fraudulent content listings on book retail platforms. And the issue pertains to both printed and ebooks, or printed books and ebooks, where potentially fake accounts are offering and selling content that they may not have the rights to. It is important to understand the different ways in which counterfeit content is offered. And in this presentation, I categorize them into 4 distinct variants for easier comprehension and to structure the discussion. First, we see that entire books are republished by fake accounts who use the same, similar or different author names, title metadata, and cover images to deceive the customers. Second, we see that parts of the original content are republished by fake accounts who use the same, similar, or different author names, the titles and cover images to deceive the customers. And there are reports of cases where there is a paywall embedded into the ebook, so that after a few pages, readers are asked to make a payment to get access to additional content and be able to continue reading the book. Third, there are reports of cases where fake accounts offer their own content, but they use authors' names, title metadata, and cover images that are same or similar to popular titles or bestsellers to deceive customers. So in general, there seem to be many variants where the original content is slightly modified and again offered abusing the names and title metadata cover images from popular titles. Let's take a look at an example that has been discussed in the German book market, where a fake account attempted to deceive potential buyers by offering a book that appeared to be a popular bestseller. So, however, there was a twist. The book being promoted was actually a diary with empty pages. So the fake account utilized the title and the cover image of this popular bestseller to attract attention. Interestingly, the account did provide a clear description of the content, explicitly stating that the book contained empty pages, but as we know, not everyone carefully reads the fine print. Next, let's examine an example where, according to the author's claim and my understanding, her book was listed by 3 different accounts, and these accounts utilized her name and the original book's title metadata and a similar cover image to sell illegitimate reprints of the content. So you would get the book, but it wasn't printed by the original printer and published by the original publisher. The fact that we see these numerous variations of this issue is presenting several challenges for publishers. First and foremost, among these challenges is the need for publishers to actively identify potentially fraudulent content listing on the various platforms. And consequently, the responsibility of monitoring and combating counterfeit content appears to fall on the shoulders of the publishers rather than the retailers themselves. Naturally, this manual work and enforcement entail substantial costs. Therefore, the objective is to devise countermeasures that enable the swift identification of potentially illegitimate and fraudulent content listings, and such measures would facilitate a faster response to mitigate the issue. Ultimately, the goal should be to proactively prevent these listings altogether, ensuring the protection of publishers and customers alike. So The crucial question is, how can we effectively tackle this problem? And upon analyzing the variants, it becomes evident that fake listings frequently employ the visual elements, particular near duplicate cover images, to deceive users. And therefore, if we can swiftly identify instances where the same or a similar cover images are used by accounts other than the original publisher, it could serve as a significant red flag. However, considering the vastness of the retailer catalogs, it is impractical for us to manually browse through them day and night. All the reports that we heard mostly came by accidental findings from authors that were reported then back to the publishers. So hence, an automated process is essential to address this challenge. However, to effectively identify a fake listing, it is crucial for anyone to be able to determine the original listing. And there is where publishers must take action and play an active role by making public and verifiable declarations of the original content. And by doing so, they establish a clear reference point that enables the detection of the fraudulent listings. Verifiable declarations of the original content will lay the foundation for what can be referred to as a trust infrastructure for digital media content. And this infrastructure will enable the creation and verification of declarations regarding the authenticity of content in a decentralized manner. This trust infrastructure comprises two essential components. Firstly, it facilitates verifiable content declaration that link metadata and rights information to unique content-derived identifiers and fingerprints of the creative works. And these declarations establish an inseparable connection between the content and its associated information. And secondly, these declarations are reinforced by publicly accessible verifiable credentials, which serve to enhance the trust in the claims and attribution to the content. The foundation of this trust infrastructure relies on new or emerging standards. Firstly, we have the ISCC, the International Standard Content Code, an open and decentralized identifier system designed specifically for digital media content across all media types. And second, we leverage the W3C recommendation for cryptographically verifiable credentials, enabling the identification of the creators and rights holders through social or institutional authentication methods. Let me provide you with a bit of background information about the ISCC. The standard actually originated in the German book market, so it's coming from our sector, so our media sector. We started the work on ISCC in 2017. In 2019, 2 years later, the ISCC was submitted to ISO by DIN, the German standards organization. Following another 2 years of preliminary efforts, the ISCC was approved as a full work item in 2021. We expect to register the ISCC as draft international standard in October of this year, with the final standard to be published next year in 2024. It's worth noting that the ISCC finds its place within TC 46 or ISO TC 46 SC9, positioning it as a sister standard to well-established ISO content identifiers like the ISBN or the DOI. Let's take a look at an example of an ISCC. So, unlike established ISO content identifiers, The ISCC, what you see here on the top, is generated directly from the digital media file, eliminating the need for manual application and management of the identifier. And each digital media file has its unique DNA, which serves its purpose in machine-to-machine data exchange rather than human readability. While I won't dive into the technical details of the ISCC in this presentation, I'd like to highlight some interesting aspects of the ISCC. Firstly, generating a code can be done by anyone with access to the digital media file. And secondly, the ISCC is a multi-composite identifier that combines cryptographic hashes with similarity-preserving hashes in the various code units. And notably, the first three units here on the left enable the matching of near duplicate content on different layers. This means that if you have different versions of the same content or content in different file formats or slightly modified or manipulated content, the identifiers will be distinct, but there is a high likelihood that they will match. Thus, the ISCC supports efficient detection of near duplicates and ensuring content integrity at the same time. The ISCC supports a wide range of common file formats from all media types and sectors. So in our context, it can be used for ebooks, audiobooks, or their cover images. Let's examine an example to better understand the capabilities of the ISCC. So on the left, we have a cover image from one of the books I have published. And for the purpose of this demonstration, I applied a simple color modification to the original image. Despite the manipulation of the cover, the second component of the ISCC, which assesses the perceptual similarity of two images, still finds a match. And the level of modification, of course, determines how close these images and these identifiers are. And in the case, or in this case, the content code shows a 94% match, indicating a difference of just 2 bits in the hashes. Now let's compare the cover images from the earlier example. And as you can see, there is a distinct difference in the title font of this cover images, which result in 10 bits of difference or 73% Hamming distance. This level of difference is not insignificant, but it would probably still result in a match when browsing through a large database of ISCC codes. And it may be worth repeating that clustering and matching of near duplicate content is possible only by having access to the ISCC codes, which means that publishers can make a public declaration of ISCC codes without revealing the actual content files. To summarize the key innovations of the ISCC system, it allows anyone with access to the content to generate a unique code directly from the digital media asset. It enables anyone to check and verify the integrity and authenticity of the digital media asset. Rights holders have the ability to inseparably bind rights, metadata, and credentials to the ISCC and publicly declare their content, enabling decentralized registries to list the content and make the data accessible so that users, platforms, or retailers can decentrally, on their end, generate and match ISCC codes to reverse lookup rights, metadata, and credentials provided by the rights holders. And in our context, verifiable declarations of the original content can help to quickly identify and distinguish original from fake listings and send a notification to the original publisher. By following 3 simple steps, publishers can actively contribute to building a robust trust infrastructure for digital media content, which is first, generate ISCC codes for the cover images, which is pretty straightforward. For additional use cases, publishers can also generate ISCC codes for the actual content files, like the EPUB files. Second, bind metadata and verifiable credentials to their content codes. This allows publishers to timestamp the content or make other verifiable claims associated with it. And 3, make public declarations. These declarations will be stored in decentralized content registries, ensuring not only their persistence and immutability. Verifiable declarations of original content also establish the reference point that enables the detection of fraudulent content listings on retail platforms. With the Liccium Trust Engine, we are currently building a software application that allows creators and rights holders to generate ISCC codes, inseparably bind rights, metadata, and credentials to the content, and make public declarations. Digitally sign your original creative work. This is a slogan that may fit well in a literal and figurative sense, because this is actually what you do when you make a digital public declaration and provide the cryptographic proof of this signature that is used. If you would like to become an early adopter and test the app firsthand, don't hesitate to reach out or sign up on Liccium.com. The development work and innovation process of the Liccium app is currently being funded by the European Union's Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Program, for which I'm very grateful. In addition to its applicability in combating counterfeit books on retail platforms, the trust infrastructure that I introduced can be used in various other scenarios and different domains or media sectors. And we envision a future where public and verifiable declarations of original content, rights, and metadata become a standard practice for creators and media organizations in general. For the Liccium app, we have developed plugins that enable photographers to seamlessly embed and bind IPTC photo metadata to their creative works. And this integration empowers photographers to maintain control over their IP and establish verifiable claims regarding origin, rights, and metadata of the photographs. And last week, Julia Marangoni, Laurent Lemeur, and Quentin Deschamps-Delière presented the final W3C report of the text and data mining reservation protocol that addresses concerns regarding the use of copyright-protected content for the purpose of training AI and large language models. Content declarations using ISCC code would inseparably bind this particular rights expression to the digital media asset and providing a robust mechanism for asserting and safeguarding content rights. And lastly, as part of our efforts to support the adoption of content protection standards, we will also develop a plugin to support the C2PA specification, which I would like to mention. The Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity, C2PA, is led by organizations such as Adobe, Microsoft, the BBC, and others. And they are developing a technical specification to embed digital certificates and verifiable claims directly into the media asset to establish content provenance and authenticity. And this protocol works really well and reliable with a number of media types, among them images. However, it is important to note that if an image is manipulated or the metadata are stripped away, the integrity of this certification may be compromised, leading to a break in the content's verifiability. But nonetheless, it would be a recommendation to dive into the C2PA. It's an excellent initiative, and do both. Include the credentials and the claims into the media asset like C2PA suggests, plus provide and inseparably bind external metadata and rights to the ISCC code. So you wouldn't do, you could do both easily, and wouldn't do one without the other eventually. Okay, so at the end of this presentation, I would like to invite you to join the anti-counterfeit task force of the PCG. Currently, the group is working on a community group report for publishers and retailers and stakeholders that highlight the challenges and impacts of counterfeit content. We hope through this report the task to increase awareness about counterfeit content and its implication. The group further fosters open discussion to explore strategies and countermeasures against counterfeit listings, and it tries, which is really important, to establish partnerships with retailers to implement preventive measures. I would also like to invite you to support ISCC Foundation. We are a non-profit organization and committed and passionate about advancing the development and adoption of open source technologies for decentralized digital content identification. Some of you, some ways how you could get involved. Your donations would help us continue the work and make it the ISCC more accessible to publishers and content creators worldwide. By supporting our development efforts, you would contribute to the advancements of the ISCC system and its code base. Spread the word about ISCC within your network and community. And finally, we would like to encourage you to participate in our testing programs and provide feedback, which would be super valuable to us to improve the further functionality, performance, and usability of the system. That is the end of my presentation, when the gardeners are starting to make noise. I hope you can still hear me. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Sebastian. Okay. Thank you for your presentation. So if anyone in the audience has any question, you can drop them in the Q&A tool for Sebastian to reply. So feel free to send any question you would have. And if we don't have any question, then we will conclude the presentation. Well, Sebastian, it seems that your presentation was very clear. We don't have any question coming in.
Okay.
So
good.
In that case, I think we will conclude here this session. And
yes.
We will. So it was the last session of the day. Thank you again, Sebastian, for being part of the summit and for this insightful presentation. We will all meet together tomorrow at 11 for the first session, so 11 a.m. CEST. For the first session on the EDRLab research and development project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And if there are any additional questions, feel free to reach out through email, or then we can have a chat.
And you can also meet Sebastian in the lobby chat on the event during the whole week. The lobby chat will be open for everyone.
Okay.
Thank you. And you have some words. Thank you so much. Very interesting from Brendan. Oh, and I couldn't see the family name. Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.